Good morning. So, today we're going to talk about value. Back in early March, I did a presentation at a conference that I was speaking at and talked about knowing your value as a business owner and how, when we know our value as business owners, this affects what we charge, the types of people we attract to work with us, the types of customers we work with, our profitability, cash flow. It affects everything. And when we don't know our true value, we tend to do things like discounting, hire people just because it's somebody that we need to hire, like a body, but not necessarily are they a fit for our culture or the type of work we want to do or the type of business we want to have. And so we get into this situation where, yeah, maybe we're making money and maybe we have employees, but it's not a very happy place to be. It doesn't feel supportive, empowering to you or to the employees. And then ultimately customers can feel all that. So when I did this talk, it was before this pandemic hit, really. It was starting to pop up. And one of my questions was, if everything disappears tomorrow, do you know your value? If the money stops coming in, if the customers stop hiring you or paying for your services or products, if nobody will work with you, if, everything you own disappears from a monetary perspective, if your 401k drops drastically, what's left? Who are you without all of that? And I think our identities can get very wrapped up in the stuff we have. I call it the external parts of our lives. So, the houses we own or the cars we drive or our 401k balance or our savings account balance or, what types of furniture we have in our house or what types of clothes are in the closet. Where do we eat? What experiences do we have? How do we travel? Do we go to the most expensive places all around the world and show it off and all that sort of thing? And does that make us feel valuable? Does it make us feel important? Because we have that stuff. And so when that stuff is gone, who are we without it? And this is a big question, I realize. Not probably something you're going to answer in the next 5 minutes. But it's a question that I've been, dealing with a long time. I grew up with a lot of money. My dad was a very successful entrepreneur, which was great in many ways. But in other ways, I think it confused me as to what my value was. I very much put my value stake on what I was doing. So as I grew older and went to college and got a degree and then got jobs, how much money I was making became very important. What my actual title was became very important. For me, having a business was a very important thing because my dad did, and it made me feel like I was productive and successful if I had my own business. I would say most of my businesses in the beginning didn't make any money, but I still had a business. At some point, about 5-6 years ago, everything sort of fell apart. I lost big clients, so my income dropped drastically. I lost a relationship that was very important, so I had to move out, find a new place, and it wasn't really what I wanted. It just felt like the rug had been pulled out from under me. And so in those moments in time, what started happening was I started deepening kind of my spiritual practices around being present, focusing on the moment, practicing gratitude for what I do have, and trying not to focus so much on what I didn't have. And slowly but surely started to feel this connection with myself that was much deeper than just, what I was creating on the external parts of my life. I didn't have a relationship. My business wasn't doing so hot. I didn't have any money. I had a lot of debt and, an old car. All this stuff. And all of that at first made me feel bad about who I was. But as I grew deeper in my spiritual practices and kind of connected to the core of who I was, the less and less that stuff meant. And this was a long process. This was not like, oh, in a few days and all of a sudden I started feeling better. It was actually kind of this awakening that happened in that moment. And then as those deeper things happened, I started to become more aware of the right choices for me based on what I wanted to create in my life. And I was driven by intention and peace, contentment, all that stuff, versus money, 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 and buy, 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 buy. So things got better with my business. It started to grow again, found new relationships, and then a couple of years later went similarly through a same thing. So I obviously had more to learn in that area. So I lost that relationship, ended up in this very deep well of fear. Again, my business, because I think I was in that place of fear, I just stopped really working on my business. And as I did that, the income dropped. And then all of a sudden it was sort of this place of, again, I don't have a whole lot. And again, I had a lot of debt. So things seemed lopsided, right? Too much debt, not enough money coming in, no good relationship, same old car. It's a very similar situation. And again, I started practicing my spiritual practices, practicing meditation, mindfulness, yoga, just being in nature, being present with what's around, the trees and the birds and the sky and the clouds, and just feeling what was coming up. And that was probably my most important lesson as I started learning that. So as I started feeling the fear and processing it, not feeling it and letting it paralyze me, but feeling it and letting those emotions move through me, which, was a practice and took many, many days. Eventually, again, I started to become more and more connected to who I was. And this time it was even deeper because I was not only working on the mental part, the meditation part, the mindfulness part, but the feeling part. So it was much more holistic, encompassing everything. And I did that for about a year. And again, now things are very different. I've actually paid off most of my debt. I've made more money in the last year than I've ever made. I'm in a great relationship now. And it's one of those things where the internal part of you has to shift so that the external part can shift. And what we tend to do is just focus on the external part. New job, new income, more money saved, better car, better house, better relationship. And we just hop from thing to thing to thing, when in reality, that doesn't usually make anything better. At some point, we're still who we are. Everywhere you go, there you are, right? There's that book or wherever you go, there you are is the book title. But it's true. It's like every situation I'm in, or every new place I move to, or every new job I take, it's still me, and it's still all my issues. And so as I've done all these practices, what they've really helped me to do is learn how to value myself, to understand who I really am, and to have true confidence, not fake confidence. And finding that has led me to make different choices with how I run my business, who I want to work with, people I want to hang out with, surround myself with, activities I want to do. It affects everything. So the more that I learn about my value and feel it, the better things get. And I've seen the same thing happen with clients where in the beginning they didn't really know their value. They just thought they had a business, right? And they were just creating something. But over time, as they deepened their practices and became more aware of who they were or are, they made better choices. Their businesses grew in new ways. So it's a real thing that happens, a real phenomena. And I just want to encourage you to think about right now, if you have lost a lot because of this pandemic, which a lot of us have, if you are angry, if you are, not content, not at peace, and I'm not saying you have to be like this 24/7, but the majority of the time, if there's not a sense of joy, peace, contentment, and there is more frustration and anger and anxiety and fear, it's probably a good signal that you're not actually in touch with who you really are. You don't actually value that. Because what you're doing is you're seeing all this stuff disappear, your way of life has changed, all that stuff. and all of a sudden you can't live the way you used to, and this is frustrating, and this makes people pissed. And this is why I think we're seeing so many people get angry about, wearing a mask or following the rules or whatever it is because they don't want things to be different. They want their old life back, and they're pissed that it's not. And there's really nobody to blame for this, It's a weird disease, a weird thing that's happened. But this has happened many times in history. So we've had pandemics like this happen before. So this is not a new thing. But our within the last 100 years, I guess, we have never had to deal with this type of thing. So what is it that you need to pay attention to from this? And how can you deepen your relationship with yourself and really see your true value? That whether or not you have money in the bank, whether or not you have your business, whether or not you have your relationship, you are of value. You matter. You're here for a reason. You are here with specific skills and abilities and experiences, and you put all those together, and that is unique to you. And what is it you're supposed to share with the world, with your community, just with people in your family? I don't know what it is. It could be on a big scale. It could be on a small scale. It doesn't really matter. It's more about connecting to you and your source and then sharing that forward with the world. So think about that. If you feel free to comment below, I would love to see kind of what you're working on and what you're bringing forth, and share it. Let us know how you're sharing it.